The very first part of designing a sound from scratch is to use the oscillators. It's the oscillators that are responsible for generating that initial waveform. And you'll find that different synthesizers generate different initial waveforms in different ways, but it is always the oscillators that are responsible for this first process. For example, I have Carbon Electra loaded up here, and if you take a look at oscillator 1, I can choose the waveform I want that oscillator to generate by choosing one of the 4 or 5 buttons on the right hand side. The top 4 buttons being the standard, most basic waveforms, square, saw, triangle and sine, and then there's also an additional noise option below. But let me just focus in on the top 4, square, saw, triangle and sine. These are the most fundamental 4 waveforms in synthesis. You'll learn them pretty quickly because you use them so much. But let me show you some other examples too, because there's an almost infinite number of options available when it comes to oscillators and the waveforms they can generate. Here is Serum, a wavetable synthesizer, probably the most popular wavetable synthesizer. I'll run through exactly what wavetable synthesis is in a later tutorial, but the key thing to notice is you can see the waveform generated by each oscillator in the window you can see in front of you. So for oscillator A, it's currently set on this cycle, the green waveform, the green cycle, you see, which you can actually change . And here's another example. This one is called FM8, the most popular FM synthesizer, a frequency modulation synthesizer. In this example, there are 6 main oscillators. In this particular type of synthesis, they are called operators, A through to F. And you can get these oscillators or operators to interact with each other to generate your complicated initial bit of something. It's a little bit different, and as I say, it gets complicated very fast, but it's fantastic. Currently, oscillator F is playing a simple sine wave, but I can get oscillator E to interact with F . And so on to create more complicated and interesting timbres. And finally, it's worth noting that there are some synthesizers, both analog and digital, that have their own proprietary, special, unique form of oscillator that is specific to that particular synthesizer. And here is a prime example. In the case of Circle 2, there is this special oscillator called a Vps Oscillator. This guy over here, which you can, of course, choose from the oscillator options just there. Exactly what VPS is doing, or even what it stands for, doesn't matter too much. The key thing is it's a form of oscillator that generates a sound that is quite specific to this particular synthesizer. And there are a whole bunch of parameters for it. So there's a horizontal parameter, which gives you some cool sounds, and there's also a vertical parameter. And that's all you need to know about oscillators. It's that first step of the sound design process where you generate that initial waveform, that initial bit of sound, up in multiplier. Thanks for watching.